Hey guys, how's it going? So I'm going to do the reading for November, but before I do that, today I actually want to talk a little bit first. So for who's not interested in watching this, I'll put the timestamp down at the bottom and you can just skip forward. But I kind of, when I get clear on what's going on, the energies and how it's working and where it's showing up even in my own life, I like to sort of share that with others so that they can apply it to themselves. And this morning, while I was shuffling the cards for the reading, a story started to take shape in my head, and so I said, "Okay, let's start first with the chat piece." So the first thing that you may notice, there's sort of two things that are going on. The first thing that you may notice is things have been really crazy since September. Lots of stuff coming at you, lots of like so many things going on that it's hard to ever feel like you're completing one thing, or that there's so many things you would rather be doing, but you're losing your attention on all these little tiny details that are minute but important, my cat back there. And so now, as I said, when the North Node in Cancer moved into its last 10 degrees, and you may start to see things shift now. It's like some of the situations, I think we kind of got the worst of it probably about 2 weeks ago. And you might see some situation going back to normal, something that comes back that had left. But it's profoundly changed. And today I want to talk about my housekeeper and babysitter. She's going to be the star of today's reading. And actually, one thing I wanted to say is that when I was setting up for the reading, this is one of the crystals that I use there, and my phone literally dropped, I don't know, exactly on the right spot and cut off this piece, okay? And I'm showing this to you because it's going to be important later. And when I tell you the story, you'll see why this is important. But when I saw this, or when it happened, that was very clear to me that this is the energy. So my housekeeper, who's been with us for a very long time, her family has a genetic predisposition to obesity. And it's not like it's an exaggerated obesity. And for her, it was something that she always grew up with. She saw it in her parents and in her brothers and stuff like that. So it was sort of one of those facts of life that she just kind of accepted. And it's caused problems for her from a physical standpoint, what she can do, how much she can work before her heart starts getting a little taxed and she has to stop, or stuff like that. And she has tried multiple times to diet, but her eating habits and the environment she's around are not healthy, right? They like to eat fried foods. They don't, practice portion control at all. And so every time she tries to fix it from a will point of view, it doesn't last very long. So what's happened? She's in her early 30s, and she's starting to change her mind on what it is that she wants, right? Or she's had this going on. Remember, it's that North Node in Cancer. What she needs to nurture herself is different than in the past. And so she now, even though up until before she had excluded it completely as an option, she wants a relationship. She wants maybe a family. And it's not necessarily the obesity that's blocking her from moving into a relationship, but it's the fact that underlying that, she doesn't believe that she could, because she has self-confidence issues. She also doesn't want to necessarily transmit bad habits onto her, or carry these bad habits forward. So she opted to have surgery on her stomach, where they literally remove a piece of your stomach, which causes you to get full way faster, right? So you physically cannot eat as much as you used to. So she has been gone for 3 weeks for the past 3 weeks because she had this surgery. And I'll tell you, I've never appreciated her more in my life when I was having to do adding that on top of all the things that I had to do as well. Also because it's like maintaining the house is literally my least favorite thing to do in the world. So she has come back now, and she is fundamentally changed from within. And even though it's like we can't necessarily see the change yet, like she's already lost like 25 pounds just from the recovery period. But she's going to start showing that her entire existence has changed. So basically, her environment. And so these are kind of the two things that are going on in your life. Somewhere in your life, you have this scenario, may not be your stomach. It'll be something else. It could be work. It could be, I'll talk about this in a second. So you have that where you're needing to change. And then there's also a situation where someone is coming back to you, or you're coming back to something else, even to yourself, profoundly changed from the inside from this decision of what to remove. Now, I want you to think about a seesaw. Remember the thing we used when we were kids? If you put too much energy or too much weight, too much of anything, excess, let's just go down to the essential words. If you put excess on one side of that, it goes to the bottom, right? And the top goes up. And this creates a state of stagnancy. It can't move because you've put too much on one side that it's impossible for this situation to ever change. In order for it to come back into balance and to be able to move fluidly, you have to take off some of the excess, right? So somewhere in your life, there is a situation of excess, and it could be energetic, it could be physical, it could be dietetic, that is causing a state of stagnancy, right? So maybe it's you have too much to do and therefore nothing is ever getting done. Or my situation, I have my liver is very sensitive. So the second I have too many toxins, my whole system kind of shuts down. And that I actually discovered that recently too, thanks to medical tests. So as I said, it could be medical, but it could also be like you have an excess of believing you're not good enough, So wherever there's an excess, it's causing you to not be able to move that seesaw. Now, most likely this current situation that's out of balance, that's stuck, is something that a few years ago you wouldn't have cared about. It wasn't stuck a few years ago. It's only recently become stuck. And because of the change in context in your life, or a change in thoughts, change in situation, change in living address, something has caused a situation that seemed fine before to suddenly go out of balance. And so there's two ways you can deal with this situation. You can will it, so let's go back to my housekeeper example. There's an eating issue, which is exacerbated by a genetic predisposition. So that means she has to be 10,000 times more committed to lifestyle changes, right? And that may require like extrapolating herself from her family because they tend to eat in ways that aren't healthy for her, or being very, very adamant about what she ingests, right? So, and again, it's ingests on any level. So what am I taking in? Is it work projects? Is it other people's energy? Is it other people's complaints? What am I ingesting too much of? Okay, and we can be very willful to say, okay, I will no longer ingest those things. I won't take that anymore. That is a very hard way of going about things. I'm not saying it's not the right way. It's just challenging because you have developed a habit around that process. And in order to change a habit, you have to be extremely, extremely committed, focused, and dedicated and constant before your brain follows you and is like, okay, we're not feeding this old habit anymore. We're feeding this new habit. And when you're changing habits, this is just an FYI in general, you don't remove a habit. You have to shift that energy. So in order to change a habit, you have to plant a new one. So in a situation where, let's say you went to the same place every single day and got a coffee there, you don't just stop going to that place because you'll end up doing something else. This is why people who stop smoking start eating, right? Because there's some sort of craving for that mechanism. So in order to kill that one habit, you have to supplant it with another. So you could continue to go to the same bar, but then order a glass of water. Your brain would get behind you and enable you to do that. So yes, there's one way of dealing with this, which is to be very willful and committed about not accepting that excess anymore. Okay. Or you can work on, if you think about the seesaw, there's the fulcrum in the middle, right? Which is what balances. And it's usually a workaround, as she did. So she knew she couldn't fix the will piece. I mean, it wasn't really a choice. It was kind of imposed at this point medically, and so that this is a workaround. It doesn't work directly on eating excess, the eating stagnancy. It works as a workaround, right? So it's like, okay, well, I'm going to remove a piece of what you're able to ingest so that you literally can't do it anymore. And this is sort of a dramatic solution, but it's clever. Because you can apply it in your own life, right? Like, so if we think about people who suffer from alcohol addictions, they have new medicine that will increase your distaste for alcohol. So the techniques on how to get around this are either literally remove a piece from whatever is allowing you to fill up that space. Okay, and I know this is going to be hard to sort of apply outside of this metaphor, but if you think about like how, so you regulate what amount of time you can fill with all these things that you take on. If there's some way for you to actually physically or with obligations remove the time that you're able to, even in your own head, then maybe you stop taking those projects on. The idea is to somehow limit the ability to handle the excess, right? To physically impede. The other way is to increase your distaste for it. And you can do this conscientiously, right? And intentionally. So I have another friend who has just started dating this person who, in my opinion, is very clearly narcissistically oriented. She is still in that phase where she hasn't figured it out, but usually with narcissists, by the time you figure it out, it's gone on for a very long time. So instead of telling her, hey, stop dating them, because that's not what she wants to hear, I've focused to her. I said, well, don't you find this boring? Because she hates to be bored. This pattern of that he's got you in, like where he disappears and then only when you disappear does he come back, don't you think that's boring? And that was her finding the distaste in the situation and focusing the attention there. And she was like, yeah, I am really bored of this. So that's an easier way. Like if I said, stop dating him, she's like, no, because actually I want to date him. But really that situation is boring for you. So if you focus on the underlying mechanism, or something that you know is distasteful to you within that scenario, that's one of the ways that you can unblock this stagnancy. So basically, because this is getting really long, sorry. So the question that's being asked right now to us, and I have my notes here, sorry, is what are you willing to do, right? And sometimes it may be a drastic maneuver to remove, to lose, to adjust the excess that is causing your stagnancy, right? And this is really, and especially with this Mercury in retrograde in Scorpio, this is really what is being asked right now, right? And you'll be presented consistently with this stagnancy. You'll know what it is because it's the one thing you're like, oh, I can't, like this keeps happening. Anytime you're saying to yourself, this keeps happening, you are dealing with a situation that is stagnant. And what it means is that at some point in this equation, there's an excess of energy being poured into it on one side. And you need to remove those pieces in order for the seesaw to go back into balance. How do you remove those pieces? Focus on your will. I'm not going to do that. If you don't think that's possible, then you have to find the workaround, which is the different one. So it could be through increasing your distaste for one element of the equation, could be from actively removing something out of the situation and committing to not picking it up again, or finding a way. You know, it's like if anytime before I go on a diet, the first thing I'll do is sort of go through my house and throw out all the any food that I know that is gonna, even in my best intentions, is gonna lure me in. I have to just not keep it in the house and not order it. And I make up food lists that are preset that I just have to click and go, that don't include those things that are trigger foods for me, right? So it's finding the workaround to getting a situation to lighten up. Okay, so I hope this was helpful. I'm going to start now with the reading, and I'll see you in a minute. Hey Aries, so I'm back. We're gonna do the reading for the last half of November. Today is November 16th, Saturday. So first thing I'm gonna do is pick 3 cards to read at the end about the journey, about the map. So, you know, these will be what you need to know for your next step. And we'll pull 3. I'm gonna go ahead, in the interest of time, and just pull from the deck. I was shuffling these a lot before, so do 1. Well, this one wants to come out, so we'll do that for 2 and 3. No, okay, I'll take that one. Okay, so put these up here. We'll read those at the end. You can choose which one is resonating more with you. With my broken crystal. Okay, getting on to the next. To complicate things, because today I was feeling complicated, I'm using my Dutch deck, so I will put this on pause for 1 second to get the energy, but I kind of felt like, and this one kind of fell in my lap too, even after I decided it. So, you know, those are little clues. So can I get for Aries, please? Hold on. Although I'll keep that just in case. Can I get for Aries, please, the energy of the last half of November? Energy for the last half of November for Aries. Energy for the last half of November 2019 for Aries. All right, maybe that was the card. I'll do 2 more shuffles, and then I'll just take that one. Okay, very good. So that was the card. All right, so that's this. Give me 1 second. Let me look this up. Okay, very interesting. So this card is called Coming to the Surface. Oh, let me try and get the light right there. Hopefully you can see that. So it's about things bubbling up from underneath, you know, energies, but joy. Also, because look at those colors, you know, they're pretty bright. And what the card says is about being rewarded by spirit for having the courage to show your true self, right? And so it says that, let me pull this up here. It says that when this card appears, it means these hidden qualities are about to surface. Enjoy this time of discovering yourself. and that every time you show something of yourself, there's a reason to celebrate. And there's aspects of you that you may not be aware of that are starting to come out. And as these, it's kind of like what I was talking about in my chat beforehand, is that conditions in our lives of what we want and what we're willing to do to achieve them have changed. And they may be bringing a side of us that we don't know, that we're just discovering, that we may even feel very uncomfortable with because it's not who we were. And there is a growing process and a growing pains process of getting used to your new energy. It's funny because I was talking to my girlfriend about this the other day. It's like, I have always identified myself with being a certain way, and that way doesn't attract me anymore. But at the same time, there's still a little bit of melancholy and mourning that goes through for an acceptance for the fact that, things change. And I'm moving into a new space. We're all moving into a new space as we've been sort of dragged kicking and screaming through an energetic shift. What you'll start to see, I think, as I mentioned also talking about my housekeeper, is that it may not have been apparent yet the benefits of this change or the good pieces that come with changing. It will take her a few months to start seeing the weight fall away. But it's going to start. So like I said, I think we're going to, even with this Cancer, the North Node moving into the last degrees of Cancer, I think you're going to start seeing the positive aspects of the shitty times, right? Of whatever that process was. And again, this energy is fluid. So if you're not here yet, it's in the future. It is related to that question that I said of what are you willing to do to adjust the excess that's causing the stagnancy. Once you do that shift, I think you'll start to see little bubbles of change and hope and lightness. Now let's get the challenge. Okay, that was quick. Oh, we got this again last time. The challenge is being able to see it, first of all. And this makes me think, you see the little stars here, and here she's observing the changes as they come in. So there may be a question about patience, like we're impatient to see these changes, or the challenge is just to be able to be still enough and observe. Like if you observe the right aspect, you'll see the movement. So if you're not in an observational phase, like if you're not paying attention to how the changes are manifesting in your life, you're not going to see them. So if you do stop and take stock and take a step back from being in the sky to observing how the sky and the bubbles are moving, right? So be an active observer of your own existence in order to be able to see how things have moved. Now let's get this. What is the lesson that we have for the end of November? What's the lesson for the end of November? For Aries. Okay. The divine director, intervention and purpose. Divine intervention is occurring. Know that you're being guided. Happiness is your purpose. All right, so great. Things are looking up. Very exciting. Let's get some cards. Can I get 3 cards, please, for Aries for November 16th to the end of the month? 3 of Pentacles. 2 more cards, please, for Aries. Doing the work. Looking at things from a different level. Being able to see, if you get onto a different level and look at things from a different perspective, you'll be able to see the changes happening. These are 2 people that are coming to buy his wares, right? that's a sign of progress, a sign of moving up, a sign that what you're offering is interesting to other people. Take a step up and take a look at it. Okay, it's about, looks like there's a lot of sort of observation that's asked to be able to witness this change. 2 more cards, please, for Aries. For the last half of November. Aries, last half of November. Knowing what to cut out, right? And examining what needs to come forward, what needs to get cut out, rising above those clouds, right? Getting clarity on thought. 1 more card, please. And this is interesting because you see she's kind of sitting above the clouds, as is she. So it's very observational. There's a lot of observational energy here. In order to see the development, you know, so Queen of Swords has moved up. She has leveled up in her thinking. She has leveled up in her ability to discern and know now what's good and not what's good and what's bad, but to know what she needs and what she doesn't need. Okay. And so it's like now she's able to start recognizing, she's in a position to start recognizing as these positive changes start bubbling up, and she's armed with her sword, right? So it's not in, I think you'll be getting a lot of sort of a confirmation if you're in a position to look at it, right? Because she's still not in the thick of things. She's removed. She's over the clouds. She's now dominated her own thoughts. She is above the cloudiness, blue skies over the clouds, right? So coming out of confusion, being able to look at things from a different level, being able to discern and see the movement that's taking place and the changes that are happening. 1 more card, please, for Aries for the end of November. And like I said, I think this, you know, there's so much information that's going to be coming out at the end of the month. Okay, Page of Pentacles. So, you know, so it's like being able to concretize, is that a word? To make more concrete, turning these thoughts into concrete actions, seeing things start to take shape, seeing also remember the gift of offering and it's not developed, you know, these are still relatively new energies. It's not the King of Pentacles, it's not the Queen of Pentacles, still sort of an apprentice starting out, but he's now more confident in what it is that he's offering. So it looks to me from here, like if you are able to stop and take a look at, like, instead of being in the thick of the change and in the thick of the energy, if you're able to take a step back and sort of observe objectively the changes, to observe your own life and maybe even ask, like, how would I have normally behaved, or how would that situation, or what have I changed? Where is my discernment showing up? Where am I showing discernment? And how is that affecting, like, what are the movements that are happening as a result of what I'm now, my abilities to distinguish my thoughts? And how are they showing up in my life concretely, right? And how is this sort of new energy, this new material, and I don't mean material in the sense of money, although it may be money in that sense, material in the sense that you can touch it and feel it, right? It's no longer in the realm of the emotions or the head. It's actually starting to manifest physically in your life, right? So there's an invitation at the end of the month to be able to put yourself into a position where you can objectively observe how the changes are starting to concretely show up. Now, let me get one last spirit or animal card here, and then we'll read these. Can I get the, hold on, energy? What energy should Aries embody for the end of November? What's the energy to embody for the end of November 2019 for Aries? Okay. Frog spirit, clear out the clutter. Okay, and that's a 28, which is a 10, which is a 1. So there's that energy. Let me read this. But you see he's got that like little ball in his hand. They're all like kind of holding something. So it's like you should be able to start to see what you have in the palm of your hand. 28. Okay, here we go. Frog spirit knows that while all the other frogs are croaking away, this is the time for you to simplify. And it's interesting because that was the crystal that broke, you know, so I think they're related. Frog spirit knows that while all other frogs are croaking away, this is a time for you to simplify and declutter your life so you can feel content on your own lily pad. Holy shit. And there she is sitting on a lily pad. Love that. Even when life isn't creating a total cacophony, we can become drawn to the excitement of lots of noise. Then the next thing we know, our schedules and homes are cluttered with commitments we regret making and objects taking up valuable space. That's that excess that I was talking about at the beginning. Even relationships need decluttering as they often become messy. Frog spirit appears to tell you to clean house, prioritize what you need, get rid of or give away the rest, so you can have some space in your day and in your head. You don't need the old stuff and its stories shouting at you about the past, right? That's why I said moving into being okay with moving into a new iteration of yourself. Not staying stuck to the future, to the past, but actually starting to see the seeds of the future. Along with physical clutter, friendships are sometimes kept long past their expiration date, weighing you down with unnecessary baggage. Now is the time to let go. Whatever you need will appear when you need it, so release your grip on all that clutter that is making you feel anxious and burdened. Frog spirit wants you to reclaim your space unencumbered by shoulds, oughts, and could have beens. Let go and jump. You are free from all that old stuff. Amazing. So very tight reading. Understanding what excess is causing your stagnation, having the intellectual wisdom to know what can stay and what can go. And as a result, even though that's scary, you know, it's like we see, you know, I lost this piece, but it's not like this is suddenly not good. I just lost a piece of it. And I will dramatically move it away. It's still integral. It still does what it needs to do. It's just missing a piece, and it's allowing for movement, right? It's getting rid of that stagnation, starting off with sort of new ways of being, trying out new ways of being, trying out new physical embodiments, and seeing those changes really start to come up. Of course, the precursor is this, you know, you have to be willing to let the old go. Otherwise, you know, that the seesaw doesn't move. Okay, so let's read these here. If you have, I already start there. I'm going to start here. So this one is the balancing act. So that's the image, but the balancing act is in the protection mode. This is an 11. Came up this way, so you'll be able to see it, but let me read that there. So reverse. This is a time when it's important to address the areas of your life where there is discord. Are you fixated on getting your own way? Are you obsessed with one thing, neglecting essential matters that require your attention? It's that excess. Taking your own inventory is a necessary step towards rebalancing your life. Amazing. And it's the only way to reach an equitable solution. Adjust yourself to the conditions of your environment that you have no control over, and balance will come much more easily. If there is to be fairness, it must come from you. Okay. This one is and we got this last week too, movement. This is upright, even though you will, so here, let me actually put those so you can see in the right way how they're coming out. This is a 10, so 28, 28, so very much in line with here. I'll read it again. And this is, remember that he's got that little windmill on his back, so he might not necessarily see the wind that he's producing, but he only produces it as he moves forward. So this says, you are in a time of positive forward motion. This is a time for positive momentum as you come out of a period of restriction. You're in a stage of new adventure and discovery. You may feel compelled to take a trip, change your hair, or move your home or business. Regardless, you can't remain where you are anymore. You feel compelled to go forward. No matter what your inquiry, you will see your dreams take form, and doors previously shut begin to open as if by magic. Movement is also a state of mind. The fog lifts, and you now know the actions you need to take. This isn't the time for fear. Let it go and move forward. So that's interesting. These are sort of two phases of that same energy. This is still like getting to the point where you realize you have to let go. Because look at, she's holding that thin thread there, right? Realizing that you have to let go. And this is having gotten to that place and being able to move forward. It's just about taking that next step. Now let's see what this one is. Okay, this is Field of Dreams in the reverse. This is a 21, so a 3, like this one. So let's read, but it's coming up in the reverse, so let me turn it. 21. So in the reverse mode, are your dreams your own, or are they really someone else's? Have you chased money, possessions, or prestige? Have you placed security above fulfillment? Has approval seeking played a major role in your motivation to succeed? This is the time for you to assess the validity of your dreams, your talents, and your willingness to be a channel for inspiration and creativity. Don't be afraid to enter the field of dreams, for you can always clear the ground for new and better things to grow. Nature has a way of self-correcting if you're willing to act with authenticity. The power to create is inside you. Okay, I think that's all pretty clear. Very nice reading. If you've already done this work of the process of going through the separation, the removal, the cutting out, you'll start to see, if you take a step back, you'll start to see the changes taking hold. If you are still here, there is still some work to be done, which also, may be about taking a step back to understand what needs to go. You will find the answer in the equation of where you're stuck and what the excess is that's causing that being stuck. And this one here asks you sort of to trust in your own dreams because, the divine is at work through you. So if you, to bring your own actions, your own, how you're expressing your creativity into something that is uniquely yours, something that bubbles up only from within you. And so this one also is like what your dream. So understanding here, giving space and giving trust to these things, this creative spirit, voice, bubbles, excitement that comes up from within you. So if you're feeling bubbly and frizzy about something, that's kind of how you're able to identify that that's where you want to be. Awesome. Wishing you a very happy November. I will see you in a couple of days. I'll do a midweek reading this week. And take care. Happy Saturday.